TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Ziman, your State Farm Insurance agent in DeKalb. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Ziman and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. Don't forget Kids Eat for Free on Thursday. For delivery or pickup, go to pizzavilla.com or call 815-758-8116. Elder Care Services of DeKalb. Safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay in home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org. My Insurance Guy in Sycamore covers Medicare to auto care and everything in between. Stop by at 204 South Main Street in Sycamore. Call 815-899-0950 or online at myinsuranceguy.com. And welcome into TD Ryan Unleash, podcast number 56. Honored and privileged. You know, we're always honored and privileged, but it takes it to a next level when we have DeKalb Police Chief David Byrd with us. Dave, how you doing this morning?
Man, TD is so good to be in your presence. I really appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you. I miss our monthly talks when we were on the radio, so this is a big day for me. I appreciate it.
Well, I am honored to have you here. And again, you know, the headlines say it all here in the Daily Chronicle. This was the March 28th issue. We're recording this on March 23rd. Of course, we'll hear this in May when David will be celebrating his 5th anniversary as police chief of DeKalb. But the headline says it all. DeKalb sees a 59% reduction in violent crimes in the past 5 years. Happens to correspond with the 5 years that you've been here, David. So what does that mean to you when you see that headline?
Wow, it just means it means a lot. It means that a lot of hard work's been put in, to be honest with you. And I want to give all the credit, truly, to the rank and file of the DeKalb Police Department. At the end of the day, my job as the chief of police is to set a mission, set goals, and then explain to them what I need to see done, and then actually have them actually execute. So the execution by the rank and file of the DeKalb Police Department has been amazing, and they deserve all the kudos. And when I say, I talk about the rank and file, but our civilian personnel as well, you know, our communications division, which is our dispatchers, our records division, who have, you know, those are civilians, but they work extremely hard, making sure that all the paperwork is correct, behind the scenes type activity.
Yeah.
But it's extremely important that they get that right. And I want to thank them as well for over the last 5 years. I have an amazing team at the DeKalb Police Department.
They don't do any police shows about those people, though, do they? They should, but they don't.
Should. You know, and every now and then, you know, I hear about, you know, our dispatchers who, you know, they are a lifeline. We just went, you know, last week was TC Telecommunicator Week, and I always tell them, you are the lifeline for the rank and file. We could not do this job without them. And that's a marriage that will stay intact forever, I think.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing. And then, like you said, the records division might not be the most glamorous position, but it's extremely important because a lot of times they're the glue that holds everyone else together. And that's why I want to make sure that they got commended as well for a job well done, which I try to commend everyone in the building about their work, you know, often and consistently.
Well, while we're commending, I just had Mayor Barnes on here last week, and he was singing your praises. Says he could not love you anymore. I don't know if that's a scary thing, David. He said he couldn't love what you've done
the same way
for
about
the city anymore.
I feel the same way about Mayor Barnes and, of course, City Manager Bill Nicholas. You know, he brought me here. He gave me this amazing opportunity. I don't want to go any further without thanking him. We had a long conversation before I even was selected for the position, and we talked. We had a real conversation about who I was and what I would bring to the city of DeKalb, and I truly cannot thank him enough for giving me the opportunity and, you know, and really being a friend. Him and I have a great relationship. You know, I think it's more like a big brother, little brother relationship. We're probably around almost 18 years apart, 17, 18 years apart. And so I treat him as a big brother, and I always look forward to our conversations and interactions that we have on a daily basis.
Well, let's talk about you're standing on the shoulder of giants, because I used to interview with Gene Lowry and Pettengill before that. I'm trying to remember that. But then in between there was John Petrogallo.
Petrogallo, yeah.
Right, as well. Mm-hmm. And then there was another interim as well.
Yeah, so, Bob Riddell.
Bob Riddell, yeah. Mm-hmm. So talk about those guys, how they help you to ease into your position.
Well, at the end of the day, and I know they did great jobs while they were here, believe me, and even going back to Chief Fyden, and if you,
Chief Fyden,
yeah, you go even further back than that, and I really appreciate the job that they did when they were in that position as well. But I stand by this, and I will always stand by this, that I don't believe you fill anyone's shoes. I believe you order your own steps. And so when I came in to the DeKalb Police Department, that's exactly the posture I took, is that I'm going to do it my way. Because truly, at the end of the day, if it works, or if it doesn't work, at least I did it my way. And I know it's a song, but truly, I believe in that. And, so even, I think I spoke to you about Deputy Chief Leverton, who's going to be retiring after 30 years of dedicated service to the city of DeKalb and the DeKalb Police Department in May. His replacement, Commander Keith Erkey, will be the incoming deputy chief. I told him as soon as I made that decision that I did not expect him to fill his shoes. I wanted him to order his own steps. You do it. You're going to be different deputy chief than Deputy Chief Leverton was. That doesn't mean that you're going to. It's not the question of if you're a better deputy chief or not. It's just going to be different because you're going to handle things in a different way but in mind with the same goals and missions of the DeKalb Police Department. So that's kind of how I went into that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't, coming into the city of DeKalb, I didn't have relationships with any other prior chiefs. So I came in with a more clean slate, and I just wanted to
point out there were 27 other candidates too.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's really impressive.
And I want. That's why I said it's so important to be who you are and live your creed, which I've always said is important to me. That I live my creed, and I did that throughout the hiring process, the interview process, hiring process. And actually, I was very candid and transparent of who I was as a person, who I am as a person, and I hope that it resonated with everyone.
Now let's go back 5 years when you were named. The headline was DeKalb names Byrd as its first black police chief. Now I bring this up because I recently saw an interview with Morgan Freeman. It was an old one actually from 60 Minutes, but he's talking to Mike Wallace and he says, "You stop calling me a black man, I'll stop calling you a white man." And then let's just be people like that.
Yep.
But it obviously 135-year history for you to be the first black chief. Tell us about that, what that meant to you, and what do you think about like when Morgan Freeman said that?
You know what? I would love it to be that way, to be honest with you, because truly, if you remove the layer of skin, everything's the same. Mm-hmm. You have a beating heart, so do I. We all got, we got, fingers, toes, all match up, we get ears, all across the board. So I would like it to get to that point because I always wanted people, just like Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
And we apologize for that technical difficulty. We're talking to David Byrd, the DeKalb Police Chief, about various issues and about Martin Luther King. And again, we're talking about a quote from Morgan Freeman where he says, "You stop calling me a black man, I'll stop calling you a white man," and what that means. And I wanted to tie it into a quote that you have here in the same article. You say, "You hear so many people talk about tolerance and I'll tolerate this culture, but we're not looking for tolerance, we're looking for accepting."
Correct.
And that's what we need is acceptance. That's such a great line.
Because truly, TD, I know you, you lived a very long life already, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of this where, people say, well, we'll just tolerate this person or we'll until they leave or until they move on.
Don't say anything.
Just be quiet. We can tolerate this. I was like, well, how about just trying to learn more about this person and gain some acceptance of and that's kind of something that that is important to me, and I definitely push at the DeKalb Police Department. I want them to be accepting of each other's differences and not just culturally, but just in different experiences because we come from different places. We grew up in different areas.
Especially DeKalb, right? The ethnic breakdown in DeKalb, we are so diverse here in DeKalb.
Oh, yeah. You see people, and at the PD, I see that as well. We're only a microcosm of the world there. I see a reflection of exactly what you're saying. And, like for me, being from the south side of Chicago, I had different experiences than a lot of my officers have had. And I share those experiences. And the reason one of the reasons why I share those experiences is because I want them to get to know me, and I want to get to know them. But I also want them to be able to accept my experiences for what they are, and hopefully, they'll gain knowledge about not just who I am, but about my culture. So
we can all learn something from somebody, right?
We sure can. I tell people all the time, I make my spaghetti one way, you make yours the other. At the end of the day, as long as it's delicious at the end, it doesn't matter. So, I use that phrase, and I talk to all my officers at the PD, and I say, look, we come from different backgrounds, obvious. But doesn't mean. But if you use the word tolerate, then I won't accept that.
I like that.
I want you to be accepting of who I am as a person, as a human, and then let's just move forward from there.
Now, we talked about your younger days, and of course, you said you were a patrol boy as well, and of course, the influence your mom had on you. But I wanted to ask you about your time at Grambling State University in Louisiana. Of course, such a prestige university, and you played some football there too. And
well, yeah, I mean, I was hurt before I got there. So,
you hurt before you got there? Okay.
I came in with some pretty good injury from high school. So it definitely my football career at Grambling did not turn out the way I wanted it. So and that's okay. I wanted to. I thought I went there with the intention of, because it was a well-known football school. But that did not work out for me. But then I decided since when that didn't work out for me, normally you would probably say, well, you just turn around and go back home.
Right.
But I decided to stay there because I really enjoyed so you talk about a change in experience. I had never spent that much time in a southern state. In
Louisiana, that's right.
Yeah, it was great, and it wasn't a different culture. I mean, it was the same culture, but it was a different. The way they handled themselves was different than what I was used to growing up in a big city. They were so hospitable, a lot of
huns.
Yeah, a lot of hugs, a lot of waves, a lot of thank yous, a lot of which I didn't see a lot of that in the city of Chicago. So it was new for me. That was a different experience. I would tell you, Terry, I was really shocked by how nice that everyone were. And I remember getting off the Greyhound bus, and I had a what they call these, like a foot trunk, one of those, and a guy now pulled up with a pickup, and he said, "Hey, are you going to Grambling? Are you a student?" He's like, "Well, just jump in the back and I'll drop you off at the dorm." I mean, it was just
being from Chicago, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm
a little reluctant.
You want me to? He's like, get in the pickup. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to take a lot
of all
you.
my stuff." Wait a minute.
Yeah, so now fast forward, if you go to Grambling now, they have these beautiful buses that come pick up the students, and and back then though it was a pickup. So I jumped on that pickup and went. So, but yeah, great experience at Grambling State University. Although, like I said, my football dreams were pretty tarnished before I got there.
But you study criminal justice now.
Yep.
Was that at any point did you think of becoming a lawyer? Did you lean towards that ever?
Nope. I always wanted to be a police officer.
So is that when you decided to be a police officer while you were at Grambling?
No. There's a photo up of me in my at my office. I'm 5 years old, and I have a badge on. And everyone comes in. They're like, "Chief, how old were you then?" I'm like, "Well, I was 5." But the reason I put that up was because it reminds me of my beginnings, like when I truly knew I wanted to be in this profession. And and who knows? I mean, what 5-year-old truly knows what they want to do? Now, I know that, I understand that probably doesn't seem reasonable, but I would never take this badge off. And my mom took me to a professional photographer to take photos that day, and that's how this photo came to be, is that the photographer...
You wouldn't take the badge off?
Nope. And my mom whispered to the photographer, "See if you could take the badge off." And the photographer said, "Ma'am, he won't take the badge off. He cries every time I mention it." And she's like, "Forget it, just let him wear the stupid badge." So
what a great story.
That's the beginning of it all. And I'll start my 37th year in August in law enforcement. So, and my goal is to get to 40.
And another quote from you back May 25th, 2021, quote, I want to have real conversations about real things with real problems and also talk about real solutions. Now, this was during the pandemic when you started. I forgot about that. So you were holding meetings, people were in their masks and everything. But you have a great line near the end where you said you had some really great conversations with a bank in non-traditional places like the parking lot with bank tellers and other people. So you were talking to people anywhere you met them.
Everywhere, and like I said, it was the most non-traditional places, like a parking lot of a Walgreens. I still recall that one because it was a conversation that was started between myself and one of our seniors, and she was kind of giving me a little bit more of a historical, view of DeKalb, which I needed because I wasn't born and raised here. And then all of a sudden, this other person walked up and said, "Are you the new chief?" I said, "Yes." And then they start talking. And then and then before you know it, it was like 6 or 7 people and myself. And we're in the middle, huddled up in this parking lot, and cars are going around us. And of course, I'm like, "I'm sorry. I mean, we don't want to be in the way." But the conversation had gotten so intense. And when I say intense,
Not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way. It was just like reflective. And I was actually gaining some knowledge about the city. And then they were actually learning about who I was truly and who I am. And that was pretty incredible. So that's why I had to make note of that, because sometimes you do have conversations in non-traditional. It's not, hey, why don't I meet you in your office, or can we meet at your community center and we can sit down and have a conversation? So you have to have these conversations where they are.
I love that. Now, before we talk about the current numbers again, which are great in terms of crime reduction, when you make the state, when you're speaking in front of the council, you got a beautiful suit on with the vest, and I
love
follow you on Facebook.
That's my
now,
waist. Yeah, I love a waistcoat. Yeah.
And you are one stylish individual. I'll tell you. I saw one with you and your buddies in zoot suits. You were looking great.
We try to look sharp.
But I bring this up because you're not afraid of social media, and I see you go out there. Tell us about that. Why it's important for the DeKalb police chief to be on social media.
So one thing I learned, and I'll go back. I started my law enforcement career in 1989. So, of course, things have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have social media there. And I try to make myself as versatile, as willing to adapt like a chameleon. I want to be that person. I know officers right now who work with me for years who said, I could not police during this era that you're in. And that's why they retired and they no longer want to be in law enforcement. They just said, I don't have the bandwidth to do that, and for a lot of different reasons. Some of it is just a different generation, how you deal with a newer generation and how you evolve through these decades of policing. And so the reason why I'm still in this uniform, though, Terry, is because I have been able to evolve from 1989 to 2026. So social media is part of that. And but
there was nothing in the police manual about it, right? That's all. You're on your own, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still recall one of the interns for the city walking over, probably in my maybe a little bit after my first 6-7 months on the job, and he's like, "Yeah, Chief, are you on TikTok?" And I was like, "Oh, what's TikTok?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a great platform. You could really get to know some of the this generation." And maybe you can, maybe make some impact there, And I was like, well, he set up the platform for me. I didn't do anything. He's like, I'll set it up. He set it up on my phone. He's like, now all you got to do is add content. So I'm like, well, what do they want to hear, though? I mean, so he's like, just be yourself, Chief. He's like, you got this big personality. You should, just get on there.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden I started saying, hey, this is Chief Byrd back on the TikTok. And then they said, well, it's just TikTok, not the TikTok. But I used the TikTok because it was unique to me.
Sure.
And and I still recall my 2 of my older children, they called me and they was like, Dad, what are you doing on TikTok? And
do you know you're on TikTok?
Because I just saw a post. What are you doing? And they was like, Dad, get off TikTok. And I was like, and then he's like, no, seriously, you should get on TikTok, And I was like, no, this is going to be, I think I can reach, the generation through this platform. And so that's why I did it. And, and I still, to this day, people will see me, and especially younger generation, and they'll say, hey, Chief, can we do a TikTok? And so you're trying to build, I mentioned about building that unity bridge of DeKalb, which I call it.
Right.
You bridge to DeKalb. And how do you build that bridge without being able to have these relationships? So I had to meet them on their platform. I'm almost 60 years old. The odds of them wanting to have a sit down, have a conversation with me at a table is probably
Minimal.
slim.
Yeah.
So I meet them where on their platform, and I think it's important that you do that as chief of police.
Yeah, we're going to talk about fun jams in the park here at the end, but I know that's your baby.
Yeah, it is. I
But
love
it's a
it.
great opportunity for you to get to know people. But let's talk about this. DeKalb sees a 59% reduction in violent crime in the past 5 years. That includes violent arrests, gun activity, according to the DeKalb Police annual report. Now, which fully state the first time you have 75 officers, so you're fully staffed now. Is that right, Chief?
Well, yeah, we were, and then we got a retirement coming up.
Okay.
So that's all. Immediately, that puts us down a body. And
And as you said, everything shifts too, right? 'Cause
everything shifts. You got to try to, it's the natural attrition rate that you'll have at a PD. Some of these officers started the academy together. They'll probably all retire together. So from year to year, you could see 3 or 4 officers retire, or in this case, only one, which is the deputy chief. But he did, he had 30 years of dedicated service. And I've been there. I know what it feels like, to have 30 plus years of with one agency, and it's very hard to retire. And believe me, it was tough for him to make that decision as well. But one day he came into my office and he said, "Chief, I think I'm done."
You just knew it was time.
Yep. And I was like, well, you're gonna make me cry, but because I love you, but I also want you to leave on your own accord.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about it. Every police officer does not get to do that, though. So many officers are killed in the line of duty who don't get to do what Deputy Chief Leverton or myself have done. At least I've done it. Technically, I retired, but from the state police. But I'm still wearing this uniform, and I enjoy it. So to your point, we finally get fully staffed, which is great, because when I first got here, Terry, I think the number we're at 52, counting myself.
Uh-huh.
So the PD was in more of a reactive mode. So we don't want to be a reactionary force, which we were at the time when I got here. So that means we're handling call of service, but we're not being proactive. So we're not being out there with high visibility. We're not out making traffic stops because we really, truly don't have the manpower to do so. All we can do is make sure that we arrive when you call and make sure that people are at least safe, but we're not impacting bad driving behavior or illegal narcotics being sold, those things. It's hard to really impact those type of crimes or without being proactive.
Right.
So when you're at 52, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So we got to so now we're at a point now where we are being extremely proactive. Our officers are making a high number of DUI arrests now. So we're out there looking for intoxicated drivers. We're also trying to change driving behavior for the city, because we still have.
All right, I'm going to come clean, Chief. Now, I was 15 years on the radio when I started complaining about it. Was the speeders in DeKalb? Everybody's speeding.
Yeah.
So I go to Art Automotive there in Malta, and I get a replacement car because they're going to work on my car.
Okay.
So I'm driving back down through in front of the campus there, and I'm doing, I think, 45 or 50. And your nice officer pulls me over and explains to me that I was speeding, and I said, "Well, it's a rental car. It's a car I'm not used to." And, and they had the great line. He goes, "So is the speedometer different on the rental car than it is on your car?" And I go, "No, officer, it's not." And he gave me he wrote the check, and I was ready to take the ticket because I had been complaining about it all the time, and I finally and I was speeding. I had this lame excuse. It wasn't my car. I wasn't used to it, but I would gladly did. And now I've seen several people getting pulled over the last few days, and I think people really enjoy it. I mean, I don't want to say enjoy it, but are glad that you guys are doing it.
I think so. At the end of the day, people look at it as a victimless crime until it isn't. Mm-hmm. So, people say, "Oh, well, he's just, he's speeding, he's in a hurry," but, until he runs into crashes with someone or you get into a bad accident.
And I was in front of the campus, so, with the kids.
Yeah, you got kids walking, a lot of people on foot. A lot of things there's some bad things that can happen. So we want to make sure we are curbing, and dictating what driving behavior should look like in the city of DeKalb. There's a good thing for us. Like, these officers are just working hard. There's no quotas. Those are illegal, so you don't have to worry about that. So I tell my officers all the time, you want to be, you give grace when you think grace is deserving or or if and then sometimes you can give someone a warning because you.
Well, I was
you
going to
wanna
pull
be
my trump card. Maybe you don't know who I am. I interview
Yeah.
Chief Byrd on a monthly basis.
But truly, I mean, like you said, I mean, I appreciate you understanding because I was like that way before I was a police officer, even though I did start my career very young. But if I knew I was over the speed limit or whatever, I would, hey, sir, I was speeding. I mean, I'm not. I mean,
Well, I started
it's
to-
obvious.
I started to get pissed, and I'm like, what are you getting pissed about? You were speeding, and what do you expect him to do? It's like I didn't expect him to just say, if I wasn't that much over, he could have given me a break, but I understood he couldn't just let that go.
No,
So,
I mean, like I said, they have discretion. I just sometimes it depends on that officer. Some officers are not, they're the times they want to give grace might not be as often as others.
okay.
And but you do. I mean, there are people who are, just don't know where they are. Sometimes it is just they get lost in thought, or they just so much they just trying to make up time.
Yeah.
And you really can't make up time.
No.
It's either you leave early or you're going to be late. I mean, it's either one or the other.
I got speeding. This is I speed all the time. There's only 2 tickets I've got, but I was on Route 23 going towards Marengo there, and the officer pointed out to me that you can't exceed the speed limit to pass somebody. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know how long it would have taken me? So then she said, don't pass.
Yeah, and I know that doesn't sound realistic.
It doesn't sound realistic.
Because truly, you would have a complete logjam if everyone did that.
Waited, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's why we need consideration for the inadvertent violator, though. And so I asked my guys to do that and my girls to do that, to show consideration for the inadvertent violator. Now, if you run someone and they have a bad driving record,
Right.
then of course you need to take action. I mean, evidently, it's the prudent thing to do. So.
All right, let's talk about the heavy stuff here. We're talking
yeah.
at DeKalb Police Chief David Byrd. Violent crime in DeKalb down from 109 in 2025 compared to 263 in 2021. It was a little rough times back there in 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, see, the numbers are what they are, and at the end of the day, I can give you, and I've had several chats with the chief, and I've enjoyed those conversations, and I had a couple of town hall meetings that I've done, definitely speaking to crime itself. And one of the things I wanted them to understand is that I could give you and show you the statistical data that will tell you that crime is down. But if you don't perceive you're safe, then those numbers won't matter to you. And I want to make sure that that the perception is that they're safe. And I had a young lady tell me that at a town hall meeting. She said, Chief, I am safe. I feel like I'm safe. I walk at night. I'm not concerned. I see a police car all the time driving down the streets. So the visibility is there. So that's why it was important that we actually got to a point that we were fully staffed. So that's important because it is a crime deterrent. High visibility is important. And at the end of the day, having us fully staffed it's already made an impact. Now it hasn't. So I know the question would always be, how did you get to that number?
Right.
Like how did we reduce crime that way? So it wasn't just the DeKalb Police Department. It was the DeKalb Police Department doing their job. I mean, we carry the bulk of this problem. We do the heavy lifting. We understand that. But also we looked at our landlords. They did an amazing job by making sure that they were vetting the people that were going to be living in their apartments. So our crime-free housing program has been fantastic.
That was big. I remember them lighting mattresses in the hallways of the apartment. Boy, I mean, that was crazy.
Terrible. And Barbadell is in charge of our crime-free housing program right now. And at the end of the day, so the landlords did their part. The DeKalb Police Department did their part. The community did their part. Because when, the old saying, it might be a cliche to everyone, but when you see something, say something, that is impactful. And we've had our community do that as well. And then, our city leaders, all our non-for-profits, everyone has been moving in the same direction in lockstep. And that's how you really, truly reduce crime. Because I know when I first got here, and people wanted to take me to task about this, but I said we wouldn't arrest our way out of this crime problem. It's never worked historically. I mean, I've been on this job for almost 37 years, and I will tell you, you can make arrest after arrest after arrest, and it won't change the fact that you're going to have crime. But if you move in unison as a community, and you make sure that your landlords are renting to law-abiding citizens, and that your community are calling when they see things suspicious, and then you have a hard-working police department. I mean,
I was reading about Giuliani in New York when he first took office there, and was cracking down big time too. But the community wasn't behind him because they were just randomly pulling out, and it was mainly African American people that were pulling out. And who's going to rally behind that? And nobody did.
No one.
Like, so
they need to know you're supporting them. The community needs to know that we're working as a whole, that it's not one demographic over another. And at the end of the day, I've said this at several opportunities that I've had to say, if you're a law-abiding citizen, then we want you here in DeKalb. You can live here, you can shop here, you can visit
prosper here, yes.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. If you're not a law-abiding citizen, then no, you're not welcome here. And that's really all there is to it. And every city should look at it that way. I know it's simplistic to look at it that way, but truly that's what you're looking for. And humanity, as we need to do better. Like, we need to care for each other more and love each other more. One of our biggest issues is domestic violence. Our last 2 homicides in the city of DeKalb. Now, it was 2024. We went the whole year without one, which was great. And I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that out of all the categories of crime, the one that really that should not have a number in it and should be 0 at all time is murder, because that means someone lost their life. So that's that number there. Every year we fight and fight and fight to try to make sure that number is 0. Now, the last 2 years, and last year we had 1, and it was domestic related. And this year, up to this date, knock on wood, it was domestic related. So domestic violence is a problem in the city.
You spoke out of the city council meeting about that.
I did, and I will continue to fight that fight. And one of the things I would like to see in the future, and the city manager is very supportive of this, is that we'll have a standalone domestic violence unit. Meaning, when I say standalone, be independent of any other duties but dealing with domestic violence.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, yeah, I mean, we have to move forward and really attack this.
Now, you're a quote machine here, Dave, because I see here you say every year you guys have a watchword for the department.
Yeah.
This year it's purposeful.
Yes.
Tell us what you mean by that. The
So
watchword
we want
is
to
purposeful.
move. So, we finally, I think we talked about being fully staffed. So now we can move with purpose. Purposefully move and fight crime and fight domestic violence, like we were just talking about. So we can do these things, with a purpose now. We're not looking for. We don't need more personnel. We don't the resources we have, and now we truly can target the issues that we have and technically just move with a purpose now.
Well, let's look closer at the numbers, because you were talking about the fact that you can't arrest your way out of the problems here.
Sure.
In 2021, you had 1,700 arrests, and in 2025, 1,500 arrests, down by 12%. So you're not, like you said, you're not arresting your way out of the problem.
Not making more arrests, no. But what we're doing, what we are doing is being more visible. So, like you said, I mean, that means that, and then the fact that we are vetting who actually lives in DeKalb a little bit, with the landlords and their tenants. So the fact that our numbers are dropping is great, because that means that they're not committing the crimes. And, because I know, I just knew that to be true. I've watched it, just being a citizen of the city of Chicago, where I grew up at. I worked my whole life on the west side of Chicago. I can tell you, you could arrest the biggest drug dealer in Chicago. There's somebody right there to take his place.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't change that culture, if you don't make that change, it won't matter. And it's the same thing with domestic violence. Like, we need to have a domestic violence campaign that's directed and with a purpose. And we did that with driving under influence. There used to driving under influence, when people got to a point where they didn't want to. And here's a word that you could use: tolerate it anymore. It was a campaign. It was almost an assault on driving under influence. Everywhere you saw, on every billboard, don't drink and drive. Every commercial, don't drink and drive. Radio, you name it. It got to a point now where people would take their buddies' keys. Now, how do we get to that point? And we need the same type of campaign to fight domestic violence. that's why we haven't seen a real change there, because we don't have a strong campaign going. As humanity, it's a societal issue.
Yes.
So we have to move as a society to make this better. And I think that's what's going to be needed to make change there.
Well, we talked to our friends at the Ben Gordon Center, and I know you have now counselors will go out on certain calls, and especially domestic violence calls, right?
Oh my God! Let me tell you, a godsend. And I would tell you that, and I mean that with the utmost sincerity about them being a godsend. Because when I came on the job, Terry, I did not know how to deal with, when people were having a crisis, a mental crisis. I mean, they didn't teach you that in the academy. I mean, they basically, it was, hey, use your common sense, Well,
one thing I learned, Dave, not to interrupt you, but was
sure.
when the police officer showed up, here's the couple fighting with each other, and then suddenly the police officer becomes the bad guy, and they both turn on him, or her, as the case may be.
Oh yeah, and that was constant, and there used to be a time where you wouldn't even take someone to jail.
Did you have to? Does that still apply?
Now
Does
you
somebody
do.
have to be arrested?
Depending, as long as you can articulate and there's proof that someone was battered, So there's some factors that have that you have to meet to make the arrest. But at the end of the day, in the past, you didn't need that. It all determined. You would ask someone if they wanted to file complaints. This lady could be, or this man could be bleeding, and he could say, "No, I don't want to do anything about it," and you wouldn't make an arrest. You just walk away.
But now we can leave the counselor there, and
now we would never. If there was, if you walked up and you saw someone that was physically battered, and we would not leave without making an arrest.
Okay, very good. Thanks for
So
clearing that up.
there's a clarification. Back in the late '80s, early '90s, if the person didn't want to file a complaint, the police officers didn't do anything about it. They let them go their separate ways. If they went together, they were able to do that. But a law passed, and it was a great law because it was impactful, that said, hey, you don't need this person, the victim, to be willing to sign complaints before you can make an arrest. The police officer can make that arrest without them.
Because a lot of times they're afraid, right? They're afraid.
Yeah, sure. Of course they were afraid. I mean, and you're right, Terry. Some of them depend on them for food, shelter, clothing. I mean, imagine that. And then you're going to have that person arrested. I mean, imagine how you would feel if you were in those shoes. So that's why it was one of the best things that ever happened in regard to domestic violence, to take it out of the victim's hands and let the police officers make that arrest without them needing to say, hey, I won't make that statement that I need him arrested because he battered me.
Wow. Oh, well, thanks for clearing that up. Wow.
Yes.
Now, this is a huge stat here. Confirmed gunfire activity decreased with 100 reported in 2021, 16 in 2025, 84% reduction. It seems like we were hearing gunshots all the time there.
I can't tell you the last time I heard one.
I know. That's great.
I mean, other than being at the range, and that means a lot to me, because that means that we're, like I said before, as a community, we're doing everything that we need to do in lockstep with each other. Because, and when we talk about confirmed shootings, meaning that there was a shell casing, some kind of evidence of a shooting, a video, multiple calls, those type of you check those boxes, and then if we have some of these boxes checked, then we'll say, okay, that was a confirmed shooting. People still use fireworks.
Sure.
Car backfires. Somebody hear car backfire. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, that sounds like a shot." Even, probably wasn't, but for someone who doesn't have a trained ear, it might have sound like. Mm-hmm. So that stat alone just shows you how safer the city of DeKalb is, because we don't have the high volume of shots fired going on in the city of DeKalb.
Now, on May 28th, it says here, a 17-year-old suffered a gunshot wound in shooting in Russell Road by a 28-year-old. But I want to talk about the school resource officers and what that means in talking to the young people, especially when they get out and doing things, when they're.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you that the school resource officers for the DeKalb Police Department are an amazing group. They really are. I mean, they deal with some very tough situations, because, you're dealing with children whose minds have not fully developed yet. And we know that.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. Yeah. So we don't have to, argue that point. And they're doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing in certain situations. And we're asking that our school resource officers, interdict those situations and be not just police officers, but life coaches as well at the same time. So both things could be going on at the same time, which I would prefer. I want them to be police officers when they need to be, and I want them to be life coaches the rest of the time, because truly they have so much to give to our youth, and that position is one of the most I would say when I talk about vetting who gets that position, I spend more time with those interviews than I've done with anything else.
I bet.
Because you have to have a certain mindset to be able to handle children like that, especially young children, and then even to the point of high school. And so when we vet those officers to take those roles, we spend a lot of time on that.
Well, it ties in when you I just saw a story where the resource officer, a kid was coming to him, and his dad was abusing his mom, and he didn't know what to do, and went to the resource officer. He went through the channels to get him help, and the guy thought he was out of work, and he was drinking and a lot of things.
Yeah.
But he intervened, and they got him. The family's a unit again now, and he's drying up. And
they understand that they want to, they understand the importance of the family unit. And I will tell you, as a black man, I grew up with, like I said, I was in a single parent home with my mom, and I never knew my father. So I know how important the family unit is, not just to a black family, but any family. And when it's not intact, things are difficult or can be difficult. Now, you make the best of it, of course, which my mother did a great job raising me. And believe me, I don't have any regrets at all. I don't. I lived a great life, and like I said, I'll be 60 years old in January of 27. So
Well, one of the most things you told me, and I'll never forget it, Dave, is when you told me that in your first day there, when you had an accident there right by your mom's house, and it involved a small child, an infant, on the roadway.
Triggered me every time.
And right there by your mom's house.
79th and the Dan Ryan.
Wow.
And having that infant die on that concrete has always triggered me. And we've had, and that was one of the things this year, we've had a baby, 5-month-old, who was killed by his father. And, so it was domestic related. And, and when I talked when I looked at the faces of my police officers and my detectives, after dealing with that case, you could see that it affected them. And I understand that, and like I tell people all the time, we have to take care of our first responders. They get so many small razor cuts, and they add up.
I used that analogy last time.
They add up there. They add up, and then they trigger you for the rest of your life. God willing, I'll be 85 years old, and I will remember that young child being on that pavement. No doubt about it.
Or I'm sorry I brought that up.
No. It's okay. You know what, Terry? Let me tell you something. You don't have to apologize for that, because that is part of my job, and I knew that I could handle this. That's why I took this job. And I never, truly, to be honest with you, I don't ever want to forget that young baby, because at the end of the day, that was a life. That was a beautiful soul. I never want to forget who that child was, even though I never met that child. Never had the opportunity to hold that child, other than to, put that child in a body bag. But at that point, the baby was lifeless. So those things are sad, and they are. But you don't have to apologize. This job has been nothing but great to me. And even though I have these razor cuts, and I can carry them, though. My personality, my mindset, my overall posture, I can carry this. And I tell officers when they first come in, before they get sworn in, I was like, be mindful. You are going to have to carry a lot of baggage with this job. So please make sure this is truly what you want, because you're going to have to carry this for the rest of your life. There's no doubt about it. And you're going to have to learn to manage it. And now I talk to the families at swearing in, because I think sometimes they think, well, I'm not the one who's going to be the police officer. You are. But what they really don't understand is, if I'm doing it, guess what? You're doing it too. So even though you might as well come up and put your right hand up as well.
Right.
Because you're going to be a part of this for the rest of your life, because I'm going to come home and you're going to have to deal with what I saw, even though you didn't personally see it yourself.
I wish you guys could be more like your canine friends. I was watching a special on
Okay.
Sunday morning show, and the canine, he works during the day, but then when he goes home at night with the kids, and he takes the vest off, and
And then he's just a regular puppy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys can't do that. You can't just take the vest off.
I mean, you try. I mean, I've always tried that, Terry. I would, when I would get off work, I coached football for a long time, high school football and youth football, baseball. So I use that as an outlet. So I think that's similar to what you're talking about. And then you spend time with your own family and children. So you have to find find something that'll take your mind off some of the things you see as a police officer. And it's not all bad. So
No.
and that's the other good part about this job. It isn't all bad at all. We spend a lot of time doing some great things for people.
Yeah, we're going to finish with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you
Sure.
there, but I want to get to this, though, because I see, let's talk about it. A lot of people watch, I don't, the CSI shows and all these detective shows.
Yeah.
Under Byrd's leadership, the Police Department Investigation Division was assigned 451 cases to investigate for serious crimes ranging from armed robbery and homicide to shootings, according to police records. How many detectives do you have? And my other question is, are they all cool?
Yeah, so they're
Because the detectives
fantastic.
are always cool on the TV show.
Yeah, so we just we're fully staffed. We got to about 12 detectives now.
12 detectives.
Yeah, and they do a great job, and they really are cool. I mean, they're no, I really believe that they're very young. Some of them are young, which was not the norm. When you think about detectives, you think about
I thought it'd be a patrol guy,
yeah,
for
you
10
think
years.
about Sipowicz from like in NYPD Blue,
Right,
or some old guy, goes out and wants to smoke a cigarette every 10 minutes or whatever the case may be. And when I arrived at DeKalb Police Department, that was the first thing I realized. Like, well, these guys are pretty young for a detective division, but they've done a great job, and I appreciate their tenacity. When it comes to solving a case, they work extremely hard for the city of DeKalb. And when the little baby passed away this year, they worked so hard on that case to make sure. I mean, because that child can no longer speak for himself, and as being a child wouldn't be able to speak for himself, being 5 months old. But even his soul was gone. So at the end of the day, the only thing that was left was for the officers to speak for him and hold that his father this time accountable for what he did. And our officers did exactly that. So I can't praise them enough. Our patrol officers who are also involved as well. I mean, it really, Terry, when I tell you, it is a full team, all in. We all go.
Because you got to absorb all that sadness. There's so much sadness.
Yeah, all in the building. We take care of each other all the time. And I can't thank the DeKalb Police Department for showing me the love that they showed me, because I was a stranger when I got here. I mean, they didn't know who I was. But I tell you, they showed me a lot of love and care, and I reciprocated that to them.
All right, Dave, just to finish up here now, I do want to mention James Rhodes. James Rhodes, the community service officer. We just lost him in March. 30 years.
Beautiful man. He 50 years an employee of the
and the community service officer for 23 years. Yeah.
50 years, and he was a police officer, and then he worked in our evidence room, and so he's more of an evidence custodian for us for all those years. And
the stories he could tell.
Yeah,
wow.
Oh my God, his family's amazing. The Rhodes family is amazing, and we just dedicated the annual report to him this year, because it was he was the odds of you seeing another employee with 50 years of service is slim. I mean, I don't know if that'll ever happen in one agency.
Yeah,
you just don't see that. I mean, 50 years is a long time.
It is.
I mean, you have to be healthy. They have to want you, to be there, and you got to want to be there. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors involved to getting to performing 50 years for one agency, and he did it. And I think it's unbelievably noteworthy, and his family were very appreciative that we donated. I mean, not that we dedicated. Dedicated their annual report to him.
Yeah, because you know what that would mean to him if he was.
Oh my
yeah,
God, he would be tickled pink.
That's awesome. Well, I saved the fun stuff for last year.
Okay.
Let's talk about Cops on the Rooftop. You guys tell them what you do.
It's coming up. Yeah. So that's a fundraiser, great fundraiser. And we're going to.
That's the Special Olympics, right?
Special Olympics, and it's going to be a good time. I climb up there, and I will tell you, it's a daunting task because to get up on the Dunkin' Donuts, they have the smallest ladder you've ever seen in your life to get up there, Terry. It's definitely if you're scared of heights, boy, good luck. So you probably won't make it up there. But I've gotten up there, and I enjoy that. People honk their horns at you and wave, and it's a lot of fun. They pull in, they donate, so it's great. It's a great fundraiser, and the DeKalb Police Department is always going to be a part of it.
Well, a lot of law-abiding citizens don't get to interact with you guys that often, so to be able to do it in a fun way like that, that's great. And then the National Night Out is always such a big thing. Tell us about that, because I know you get the vehicles out there and the kids get to climb on
they
there.
get to actually see us in a different role, and I love that. I want them to see the playful side of the DeKalb Police Department, because truly, to be honest with you, majority of the time, that's who we are. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like an onion. I mean, I've got several layers, but the one I like the most is when I can have good conversations like we're having, and I'm very playful. I spend a lot of time with my personnel. We laugh and joke. We sing happy birthday to each other. We have sing-alongs at the PD when it's someone's birthday, and we all enjoy that. We enjoy those moments because we realize we have a very unpredictable and very tough job. Probably the toughest job in the world is to be a police officer.
No doubt.
Right now. And for a lot of different reasons, and I'm sure people argue that, I'm sure firemen, they do a very extremely tough job. I mean, of course, the military as well. But it's just a lot of things that I could point to that would, actually show that this job is unbelievably tough. And so we need moments and times where we can share and enjoy each other's space and time. So we do that at the DeKalb Police Department on a regular basis.
And the very best for last, of course, is the Fun Jams in the park, and that's coming up here in June, right? In Hopkins Park.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. That was something that I started when I arrived here. It was probably the first piece where I said, "Hey, we can build this unity bridge at DeKalb." That unity bridge is between the police department and the community. And I think we had, the foundation was weak, and we need to build on it. And we did that, and we put our best foot forward. And this program really helped. And then we start bringing on partners. So we have Opportunity DeKalb, these not-for-profits, Break Room and Friends, Black Ink, and then the Park District. So they all were like, "Hey, Chief, we want to be a part of this." And now we've grown to the point where we're all involved, and it's been.
They might catch you singing or dancing.
They can catch me singing, dancing,
cooking,
but also educating.
Uh-huh.
Whenever I get an opportunity to educate our youth, even about the small things, hey, clean up after yourself. Those things, I don't let those moments go by without taking that opportunity to say, hey, we don't litter. This is what we're going to do. We say thank you. We get in line. We wait our turn. We're polite, respectful to each other. So whenever I get that opportunity, I take that opportunity, and I'll continue to do that this year. I guarantee you.
Well, I tell you, I remember when I was a young man, I read a book called The Thin Blue Line, and I realized that how few police officers are compared to the rest of the population. And if we don't help, then it would be absolute chaos too. So to see you reaching out to the community the way you have, and then to see the numbers reflecting that it works, it's working extremely well.
It all works, and and you can see. I mean, it's not like we have to guess how we got here. We don't. I think I spoke to, I basically laid out the blueprint earlier, how we got to where we got. And it just wasn't the DeKalb Police Department. It just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
The communities have to have buy-in. They have to, number one, the police department has to respect the community. The community has to respect the police department. We have to be willing to work together in unison. I have to be transparent as the chief of police. And I've always have been. If someone asks me a question, I am always as transparent as I can be. The only time I will not be is if I think it's going to impede an investigation. And then I will tell you that. I'll tell you that. I can't tell you that because it's going to impede the investigation.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, I will tell you everything there is to know about what we're doing as a police force. Because believe me, the police force has so much responsibility. I know some people would probably classify it as power, because you could take someone's freedom, which is a huge responsibility. I mean, you have to, and our officers need to be held accountable because they can take someone's freedom. There are times when, unfortunately, you never hope it happens, but you can use deadly force illegally as a police officer, and so there's a big responsibility there. So I want to make sure that we're being held accountable for that. Our police officers are extremely well trained. We're going to continue to do that. We use technology to the best of our ability, which we're going to continue to expound on the technology that we use: license plate readers, public safety cameras. We're currently assessing using a drone as a first responder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As well. So that program might be in our future as well. So there's a lot of things that we're doing right in the city of DeKalb, and we're going to continue to do it, Jerry. And with the support of people like you and the community as a whole, there's nothing but good things coming for the city of DeKalb.
Well, they say not all heroes wear capes. My hero wears a badge, and he's sitting right next to me. You
Oh,
are my
God.
hero.
Thank you, Terry.
David
Wow.
Byrd, and I know I'm not alone when I say that. You mean so much to this community, and so important for you to keep the men and women of the DeKalb Police Department safe, including
warms my
yourself,
heart.
sir. And,
that warms my heart, Terry, and thank you. And I know our relationship. I met you 5 years ago, basically, and I've always enjoyed our conversations. And because I can always be candid and transparent with you as you were with me. Like you said, I'm going to ask some tough questions. And I think that was one of the first things you mentioned to me on our first radio show we did. And he's like, look, Jay, I'm not going to surprise you. I'm going to ask you some tough questions, though. And I appreciate that. And it goes a long way because your credibility as a newsman and your integrity as a person and your moral fibers speaks the world about who you are. So it means a lot to me to hear you say that.
his name is David Byrd, DeKalb Police Chief. David, thank you so much for your time today.
Sir.
I thank to my nephew for getting us on the Air Force, too, and that's TD Ryan Unleashed, podcast number 56.